We are live. Welcome, everyone. We're going live to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and I am so excited. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to someone truly special, a good friend of mine, Dwight Fortune. Now, when I first mentioned the idea of interviewing him, I knew he had like a treasure trove of wisdom to share, especially for all of you out there who are toying with the idea of writing a book. Now, I know there are friends of mine out there who are thinking of it. There are coaches, there are therapists, there are people who just want to write a journal of some sort, or who are an expert, just want to get it out there. So what sets Dwight apart is that not only his self-publishing he's a self-publishing strategist with like tons of experience, but he's also the kind of person who genuinely cares about helping others succeed. Now I've been on Zooms with him, and he's shared some incredible marketing insights with me. He's helped me out. He's got a real heart to helping people deep down. So let's get ready for an authentic conversation with Dwight. I know there's going to be some stories that he's going to tell, and he's bound to pour out his wisdom, his knowledge, his enthusiasm to inspire all of you out there who are considering and taking that leap into the world of writing. So stay tuned. Are you all ready for a treat? Let's go. Here we have it.
Hey, what's going on, Beth?
Lovely to see you. How are you doing?
I am good. Just drove back here this morning from Kentucky back to Indianapolis, straight in and getting my daughter to karate. Had to go find a place to make sure we have our interview that was isolated, decent lighting, and so I'm ready to go.
Brilliant. Right. So I'm here in the UK. Tell me whereabouts you are from.
Oh yeah, that's right. So I am in the U.S. here in Indianapolis, Indiana. This is part of the Midwest for those of you who may not know.
Okay, brilliant. So it's great to have you here. So could you start by just sharing a bit about your background and your journey that led you to becoming a self-publishing strategist?
Oh, excellent. So for me, here's the thing. I've been wanting to write a book since like college. Now, I went to college on a full athletic scholarship and played baseball there for all 4 years. I got a degree in accounting, but I kept having this thing about wanting to write. I even went there a fifth year because I was thinking about, hoping I was going to get a red shirt for a year where I got injured. So I get there for my fifth year and I was ready to graduate already with the credits. So I still had to have a certain amount of credits just to be eligible to play. So I took like I took like Greek mythology. I was taking a technical writing class. I was doing a creative writing class, all for me to just get better at my writing. Now, I didn't write a book at that time at all. I just had ideas of them, what I wanted to write. But what ended up happening is I went down a different path after I left college that left me going into drugs and alcohol. Got very deep into that. And as time went on, as my addiction grew, and from the things that I said I would never do, I started doing those things that I said I would never do and found myself facing 12 years of prison. So I'm sitting there for waiting to see what's going to happen for me while I'm sitting there in jail. I spent 9 months in there, and I was like, God, if you give me this chance, I'm actually going to change this time. So for that 9 months, I started working on myself mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Started reading books again and trying to figure out how to create myself better this time so that when I got out, that I wouldn't go back to using and find myself in prison the next time. If God gave me the grace of giving me freedom. So I started writing a book while I was in there. Then I had like this little yellow legal pad, and I took the piece of paper out there, tore them out, and I folded them half. I drew a little cover on there and wrote a little contents, and then kind of started writing out this book, right? So that was what I was going to write for my kids. So I was like, while I'm sober minded and thinking properly, I should write something that will help my kids just in case I started acting a fool again and found myself in trouble. At least I'd have something for them to live by. Like, don't follow what I do. Here's what to tell them what to do. Right. So that was the idea what I was using for writing that first book. Now, I was blessed to get out with opportunity to go play. I should go to actually build my life again. And while I'm going and doing this, I had opportunity to write that book because my spirit said to write the book. So I took those little pages of yellow legal pad and I typed them all up. It was like November. I wanted it done by Thanksgiving. And it was 20 pages of glory. Like, I thought I was fantastic. I'm an author. I wrote a book. That's what I was thinking. But Bev, I didn't do anything with it. I didn't do anything with it. But see, I knew the power of using a book to not only change someone else's life, but because it had changed my life, I knew I needed to write a transformational book. But I wasn't sure it was time for me to write that book yet.
So
I wasn't living out those principles.
It's interesting that you talk about, you knew that this is what your purpose was, and we've got out there purpose-driven coaches and therapists and experts, and and you've also spoken about your relationship with God. I know you're a Christian, so tell me how that influences your decisions.
Oh, absolutely. So even while you was doing the introduction, while I was in the backstage, I asked God for the words. Give me the words, because I had a mentor who used to say before every time he spoke, he would say, he would tell us that he wasn't going to let what needs to be said get in the way of what he wanted to say. So I come on to an interview wanting to say certain things about my business or this and that and the other, but that may not be the message God wants you to hear. So I got to tell God to give me the words so I can get out of his way and let him do what he needs to do with me. Because the way I was living, my decisions landed me in jail facing 12 years of prison. So I need to follow some, as my mentor would say, good, orderly direction. And that's for those of you who are still playing around with this idea, but God is. A sponsor and mentor told me to follow good, orderly direction. And eventually I realized that all my good, orderly direction comes from God. That is an acronym.
Yeah. So. Oh, that's that good, orderly direction. I like that. I like that acronym. Right. Okay. So I know that you're going to be doing a 5-day quick start challenge. That sounds really, really intriguing. Yes, so could you tell us more about how this challenge helps those aspiring authors in creating their signature book? I mean, what is a signature book and how can they do that within a week? And so what's the key focus of each day in that challenge?
Okay. All right. So the 5-day challenge here, the quick start challenge, is I took what I was doing with my personal clients. So every one of my one-on-one clients that either do their book with them, working on a one-to-one, or I write their book for them, or I ghost write the book. Okay. So those clients I have go through what I call a wealthy author roadmap, which is essentially a half-day intensive where we get very clear on the topic, who they're actually writing for, how they're going to leverage the book, creating the outline, and coming up with a simple plan on how they're going to leverage the book once they get it written. So they get my focused attention. We're doing research. I'm asking questions. We're doing all the things. I'm getting stories and pulling out ideas and telling them this should go here, this should go there. Like just giving my brain dump. They got my full control of my brain for that half day, right, to get them ready. Well, that is an expensive product, and I can't get everybody into that because that's a lot of one-on-one time. But I keep finding people who have great stories and great ideas that want to write a book, and I can't put them all on my schedule. So I decided to create a challenge by taking those 3 to 5 hours that I've been using to create the success with my personal clients, and I'm spreading it out over 5 days. So in the first day is about figuring out basically how to get into that writing flow, because there's a special strategy we can talk about a little more, but there's a special strategy I use to get into flow. I love psychology. I am an athlete. I understand the value of being able to control my mind and get into a state where my front of my brain, which is slow and thinking, gets in the way of the back of my brain, my subconscious thinking, which is a massive machine.
Yeah.
When you truly get into doing your greatest work, is feel like right when I first wrote that first book, I kept saying that I didn't really write this book. It was a download. It was just my hands were typing, but it was a download, that was coming through my body. And how do I get more into that flow to where I'm saying what needs to be said the way it needs to be said? Because my thinking, I'm constantly analyzing. Did I say it
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All the way through.
I love that. I sometimes when I'm like praying and I do like Christian art journaling. So that's my
Mm-hmm,
other side of my business.
mm-hmm,
And I find that when I'm writing, like handwriting, not typing
mm-hmm,
necessarily,
uh-huh,
um, it's almost as if someone else is taking my pen and is writing the
exactly.
words on the paper.
Mm-hmm,
The prayers, I think, oh, I don't know what I'm going to say. And it just comes out of the
mm-hmm,
pen. But I was, where it says I think it says in Habakkuk 2, verse 2, it says, write your vision and make it
mm-hmm.
plain, you know?
Yes.
And I was thinking about your workshop that's called the Comprehensive Book Vision
Yep.
Workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was thinking, well, how do people write their vision for their book? How does that
Yes.
fit into like a business strategy?
Oh, absolutely. See, and that's the thing. On day two, so day one, we work on figuring out how to get in the flow and get to that process where God's guiding your pen, right? There's a process you can go through to get there. On day two, we start working about your vision. See, people have this idea about, they glorify the idea of becoming an author, and it is awesome. I walk around with T-shirts to say I'm an author. Like, I'm proud of being an author, right? Uh, I teach people how to become authors, so I really love it. Now, the thing is, they don't have a plan for how they're going to use the book. They have this idea of just, I'm gonna write the book, I'm gonna put it out there. And I did the same thing for my first book. I put it out there and was like, I sat back and waited. Like, when's all the fame and all this stuff is gonna come to me? It didn't come. It required me to go out and start doing things differently, marketing, and start putting the book in front of people and start leveraging the book in other ways. Now, when I got to my second book, I decided I probably need to have a better plan before I write the book so that I can then use the book appropriately. And more importantly, design the book for that purpose.
Mm.
See, a signature book, because you asked the question, what is a signature book? A signature book is about teaching your principles that are the guiding processes and systems and philosophies and beliefs of what you are coaching or consulting or your business.
Mm.
So what is your signature strategy? What is your signature ideas? That's what's going to be included into your signature book. So if that's what I'm using this book for, and it's going to help me grow my business, I should have a vision of how this fits into my overall ecosystem, or my marketing plan, my strategy for getting on more stages, whatever that is. I need to know what that is up front, so that when I write the book, I can have certain ideas and plant little seeds of what I want the reader to do afterwards, because I know where I'm taking them.
Okay,
I
so
know my
I
system.
yeah, so you have a system, but what
Mm-hmm.
if you're like your system, like doing Christian art journaling
Yep.
is something that's intuitive,
Yep.
it's God driven or led,
Uh-huh.
and it just, I don't know what's going to come out of my paintbrush or my pen. It
Mm-hmm.
just happens. How can I say there's a system in that?
Uh, so here, you're saying, as far as like teaching someone else how to do that,
Mm,
is that what you're asking?
that's
So,
right. Yeah.
so that's one of the things about what working with me one-on-one does. There's so many people out here. It's like, I asked them, like, how do you do that? And they're like, I don't know, I just kind of do it. so so we have to pull back, and I start asking super detailed questions, because I have a fascination with people and the things they can do that I don't know how to do. And because of that childlike fascination, I ask very simple, like, how did you do that? And what were you thinking? And what do you think next? Like, so when I start asking all those questions, I get really into the literature pieces of what you're thinking and doing. Now you start seeing, oh, I actually do go through a process of when I'm going to go, when I'm, so for, particular for you, Bev, when you get ready to go down, when you get ready to go create your journaling, what's the first thing you do?
Well, I think I would pray first of all. I will write down whatever's coming in my thoughts. I just like, I would then meditate, wait for God to listen to what he's saying. And then I might get an idea, and, I'll get an idea and I'll put it down on paper. It doesn't look very good probably, but it can be refined. And it's not really, I'm not an artist, but God is saying something through it. I was just thinking that sometimes, just like creativity dries up, writers' creativity, like they call it writer's block, don't they? It dries up as well. People get writer's block. And I was just thinking, well, how can you explain how people can overcome that? What you mentioned about, I was stalking you, sorry. And you got the thought leadership blueprint and the brain prompts, right? So how do those help when you're trying to overcome writer's block, or you're creating engaging content? I can't hear you, sorry. Did you hear that? I still can't hear you. Having a few technical difficulties here, but nope. Try again. Hello. Okay, so while Dwight is sorting out his sound here.
Is that better?
That's better. Yeah, that's better.
Excellent. All right. That, as I was saying, that is an exit question for as understanding getting the content and trying to figure out how to get it out of your head, because that's one of the things that people get worried about is writer's block. And I like to start off with the belief that I want them to accept, which is there's no such thing as writer's block. And here's the reason why I say there's no such thing as writer's block. With the proper planning up front and you knowing your subject, you're not going to get writer's block. If I ask you a question, Bev, about your subject, just ask you a question, any question about that you love talking about, the speech and so forth. If I ask you, you can speak at least 5 minutes on it, period, without having just boom, right off. Well, if that's true, then the content's in your head. The only problem is you get confused with trying to translate what's already you can speak clearly about and translate it into your fingers or to your pen when you're going to write. So how do we eliminate that? I ask you to just record yourself answering questions.
Ah, okay, that's interesting, because and then sometimes, how do you get over this kind of waffle? You're just waffling on about something and it's like not keeping to the point. And also, but then also some people might think, oh, but I'm dyslexic, I can't write, and then that stops them. The kind of self-doubt and all the other imposter syndrome or whatever creeps in, and they think, well, if I haven't got writer's block, I'm not good enough, or the story I've got to tell is not going to be impactful enough, or how do I work out whether it's the best topics? Will my story sell? Do I understand the market? How can you identify the kind of best topics, and how can you get over all those imposter syndrome, all those self-doubt things that will stop you from writing?
Oh, excellent. There's 3 things there. The first thing is it requires you to do research. And that is part of the beginning, like getting all the research done on what's already selling in the market right now in your area. looking at some of the information and content that you've already created. Many of us have already created YouTube videos. We've maybe been speaking in public. We may have been creating a blog. We have content that we may need to just bring together and craft a book from that content. So looking at what's going on in the market and what I have available, I can now see where my message fits into the market. You don't have to be completely new. The information's already out there more than likely. But your specific way of explaining it or your specific experiences are what makes it different. Okay, so we look at the topic of what's popular in the market, and we saying, all right, this is what we need to have. This is what they need to know. And we tell them in the book, here's what the others will tell you. Here's what I think you should know. Okay, that helps you to understand your topic a little bit more better and why and how you're going to write the book. So you have a little more confidence about what you're putting out there. The second thing we have here is that imposter syndrome typically happens. Did you know this, Bev? The majority of the people who have, the vast majority of the people who have imposter syndrome are high achievers.
No, I know. I didn't know that. No.
Yes. So these are people, and think about it. If I don't believe that I'm as good as people say that I am, because that's usually what imposter syndrome is. Other people are saying it, or they're thinking you're great or whatever. And it's me telling myself I'm not. So what am I going to do? I'm usually going to overwork and prove that I'm worthy. So I'm going to achieve at a high level, or I'm going to bring everything I can into my work and prove it to myself. I'm either trying to prove it to them or prove it to myself. So either way, you're going to be a high achiever for the most part. A lot of them, the majority of them are high achievers. So then pat yourself on the back if you have imposter syndrome, because that means you're a high achiever. We just got to get your own thinking and your feelings out of the way of what you know you're great at.
Yeah. So that's very true, because I mean, I think when I see some therapists online, and I help therapists to start their own private practice, and there's always a temptation in me saying, oh, well, I've been working online since 2015, a long time before COVID, and there are other therapists who are just starting this because COVID has happened, and now they're used to going online. But just imagine that when I actually see people online, I've got all these different tools and games and activities that I do with kids, and it just comes naturally, you know. And I was showing a therapist the bank of resources I have inside my membership, and I thought, I take it for granted a lot of the time that I've created, first of all, a bank of resources, and secondly, that I can use all these resources and I can show other therapists how to use them. But I don't, because I think, oh, well, they won't be that good, or someone's got a better game or activity. And then when I do actually show it to someone, they say, oh, I never thought of doing it like that. So you don't know until you actually go out there and share it.
Yes, and you said some very, very, very key thinking, and it's a pattern of thinking that happens, is that, oh, I'm great at this, and then I start doing it, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, I start stepping back. That feeling, that spot right there is the problem. And here's the problem: you're selfish. Because here's the thing: when I'm truly thinking about helping someone else, I don't care about what other people may be thinking. I know I'm going to help this person to the best of my abilities. Period. I have a whole track record of being able to help people in this situation. Period. I know I can do this. So the only reason why I start backtracking, like, oh, I don't think I can help, is because I'm thinking about me. I'm not thinking about the person who's going to suffer because I didn't do what God told me to do in this moment, which was to go out there and share this message.
Yeah,
that's whatever your purpose is in life. Okay,
I think we can put loads of excuses, can't we, in our way? Like we can say things like, oh, well, I'm not good enough, or we could say, oh, but I haven't got time, I've got kids to pick up from school, and I've got this routine and that routine. How am I going to fit in a routine for writing to be productive? I mean, so I looked at your page and it said,
yep,
the writing routine and productivity toolkit. I know that sounds really valuable, but can you explain Can you give me a glimpse into the tools and strategies that
Oh
would
yeah.
actually help authors to get into that writing mood and to be consistent with
Oh
their
yeah, absolutely.
maintain that
Absolutely.
creative flow?
Absolutely. So here's the thing, Beth. And you may even know this number. The average person speaks at about 150 words per minute. So a book, the books I typically have people to write are about 100 pages, 125, between about 75 to 125 pages. Not really very, very long books. You don't need necessarily really long books anymore. But say you take about a 100-page book. That is somewhere around 23,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
So if I am speaking at about 150 words per minute, that averages out to somewhere about 3.5 hours of me speaking. 3.5 hours of me speaking. If I do that in 15 minutes a day, and you cannot tell me you can't find 15 minutes out of your day to speak into your phone to answer a question from your book, because the brain prompts we talk about in the after you turn your book into an outline, we turn it into a prompt. We answer a question. We spend 5 minutes or so on a question. You may answer the next question. You may spend another 7 or 8 minutes of it, and you're done. That's it. Every day you do that, over the course of about 2 weeks, you spent about 3.5 hours speaking into your phone, and you transcribe that information, and it becomes somewhere around 20 some thousand words plus. That's a book. And for those of you thinking like, well, I'm dyslexic, I don't think I can do, I'm not a great writer. That's what you have editors for.
Yeah.
The Stephen Kings and Pattersons of the world don't edit their own books. There's a difference, Beth,
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
a writer and an author. You don't have to be a writer. You need to be an author. So which an author is the one who has the ideas. The writer is someone who turns those ideas into the written word. So you speaking those words out, getting them transcribed, getting it into the hands of an editor to help you put them in the right place, in the right order, and cleaning all that stuff up. That's their job.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I do marketing, you do marketing, and that's how we met. But I
No.
know that some people will say, well, marketing, I don't get it, but I know it plays a significant role in the success of a self-published book.
Absolutely.
So when I was thinking about your author's marketing mastery bootcamp, which is one of
Mm-hmm.
your bonuses, I think, on your
Yep.
challenge, how can you create a simple yet effective marketing plan, both like online as well as offline,
Okay. Excellent.
when you're launching a book?
Excellent. I can look. My book's outline becomes very easy for me to pull content from. That's it. Like there's nothing more to really think about it. You've done all the work in creating your outline and creating the content for your book. Now, once I go back into my outline, I can now either pull content from the outline and say, I'm gonna expand on this, because there's a lot of stuff you're not talking about in your book that didn't fit necessarily in the book for what you're trying, the theme of that book. But it doesn't mean it wasn't valuable content. There are strategies that you don't put in the book because it's too much. You don't want to overwhelm your reader. You want to make sure they're getting through what you're telling them to do and getting results. Then they're going to come back and ask you for more, right? So when you're thinking about the content and the marketing, your marketing is about creating content and telling people, once you listen to this content, go look at this, go buy this, go download this, come join me here. That's marketing. We're taking the message that's leading people to take some type of action. That is the simplest way I can talk about marketing. And because you've written the book, you get very clear about what your message is. And that, again, happens at the very beginning when before you start writing the book, you get very clear about what the message is that you are trying to portray through this book. And now every piece of marketing that you create after that, whether it's content marketing, paid marketing, anything that you're trying to put out there, doing a podcast or whether you're doing a blog, whatever, all of that should filter back to that one message that what that book was created about. If it doesn't filter and when you try to think about pieces of content, if it doesn't lead back to that idea, that theme, you don't talk about it. That's not marketing. It messes up your messaging. It waters down what you're trying to talk about. what you are talking about in that book helps you clarify the direction of all the rest of your marketing, pull content, pull ideas from out of the book.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe, deep down, I believe that everyone has a book inside them. And I don't know whether this is the right way of going about it, but because everyone has some sort of story that they should tell.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, I look at it from the speech therapist point of view. I think they've got a particular sort of specialism, say. Maybe they're a stammering specialist. They have a certain technique. They've got various stories of how they've used their techniques. And they've got a book inside them that they could share.
Yes, ma'am.
But then you've got Christian women, or any women really, who have gone through some sort of mess. And I'm
Yep.
talking about the people who come on my Christian art journaling weekend, which
Yep.
happens to be in November, middle of November. They, that when I did it the first time around, the stories that the women told, stories of relationship breakdowns, divorce, trauma, abuse, depression, all
Yep.
sorts of stories. They are powerful stories, but when you look at them, when you're in the midst of it all, you kind of think, oh, what a mess. But I
Yeah.
always think that God can use that mess and turn it into a message, and that message can help others. So therefore, everyone's got a book inside them, whether it's a personal story, a memoir, something, or whether it's like a non-fiction kind of how-to kind of book.
Yeah. So we got to think about this. And you can think whatever you want to say about what I'm about to say here. When you go through the Bible, there's not one story in there there's not a mess in, because that's life. Life is messy at times. Even if we look at the story of Jesus Christ, it's messy. He's learning early on, trying to figure things out, destroying temples. Like, we're like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to do that. No, it's messy. He gets mad. He says things. And there's a whole gap that we don't even know about. Like, a whole piece is missing. What happened there? And I'm not trying to question the Bible. What I'm saying is are things that are happening that help turn us into the person that we are on the other side. And if we try to eliminate or ignore that mess, we don't see the value in who you are in the other side. So one thing I have to give this warning, Bev, when it's time to start telling your story, please have some healing. Please have some healing. Because trying to go into telling that story, and when you're doing your marketing, you're saying the same thing over and over and over. You're telling that story multiple times. And if you are not had some healing from it, it's going to destroy you every time you do it. So please have some healing. Come to your workshop like you have with Bev, so you can start working on that healing process through that creative expression. Right now, when we use that message properly, it is so powerful. It is so powerful.
It is, yeah. So, I mean, you've got a really powerful story, being involved with drugs and ending up in prison, and then finding your purpose as a really powerful story. And then some people might think, oh, my story is a bit boring. I just brought up 3 kids and, been in a happy marriage and everything's hunky-dory. So what have I got to tell?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me speak to that, Beth. Let me speak to that. Because the story isn't necessarily have to be super, super messy. My life isn't always chaos and trauma like that. There are moments where that is, and those may be pivotal moments. The thing is, certain people are going to relate to that story. Some people are not, but they're going to find their self in your story. Yeah. That's what I'm saying again. I'm going to find myself in your story if you tell it well with what's called a universal theme. If your story has a universal theme, I'm going to find how that applies in my life. So, like, for my emails that I write 3 to 5 emails a week to my list of people, right? My wealthy authors in No Doubt Nation. I'm not constantly talking about, drug use and things of that nature. One of the last emails I was talking about my daughter. I'm constantly talking about stories that are happening every day. When you're paying attention, God's constantly teaching you. Life is constantly instructing you on the things that you are trying to get to. because you've decided this is the purpose that I want to go towards. And if God's going to be the God that I know he is, he's trying to help you achieve that purpose. He's constantly teaching you and molding you. And Bev, you've heard me say this. God can't steer a parked car. You got to be moving. And as you start moving, he's going to guide and direct you. And that might be in reading a paper. It might be in listening to a little kid's conversation off to the side. It might be something that happens while you're eating ice cream for that day. And you have this thought. Those little moments in your day are also powerful stories.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. I mean, you know, I often, when I go on a masterclass and I've got therapists, speech therapists who come on, I tell stories about, you know, some of my clients. I don't give away sort of personal details, but some of the really profound stories are ones that where you've had a big impact, and you know, you might have felt, oh, I didn't think I was going to do much here, but when I've taken a child who's non-verbal, and who's been expected, you know, at the age of 17 to pass their oral exams, and you know, everyone's given up hope on this young man. And I work with him online because he's in Italy, I'm here in the UK, and we work consistently. I train his carers, and at the end he passes his 5 oral exams. You know, that is a powerful story because it overcomes all the kind of problems that, you know, people think he would even achieve that.
Absolutely.
And it also speaks to the therapist saying, you know, you've got such a powerful gift of giving someone the gift of communication, and so go for it. You know, don't settle for mediocrity. You know, because
there you go. Look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a message.
Yes, I'm so excited because I know we talked about sort of like doing a masterclass inside my membership, Maven Business Haven, and that's something that will be offered to the members. Do you want to sort of just give a brief overview of what will be covered in that?
So yes, absolutely. The main thing that we'd love to talk about in this masterclass is about storytelling. And the power of storytelling. Now, it applies in all types of area. I have what's called the story formula. Let me tell you quickly where this came from. And it's an acronym. I'm not going to go into all the details of that. You have to come to the master class and find out. But here's the idea here. I started studying like some of the best books that have ever been written on that I felt were great, right? Not just because they had good information. There are a lot of books out here with great information that you're not like, oh my God, I don't want to read this anymore. You don't want to get excited to tell somebody else about it. So I started reading the books that were like what I call edutainment. So they have great stories, they're educational, and they are entertaining at the same time. So they're like personality all into it. And I started seeing this pattern in there. Where they started, well, I guess I'll give it to you. They started with some type of statement. They told a story. They dealt with some objections, some what the obstacle is, opportunity in that, some objectives, some steps they need to take. They gave me some real life application. What did it look like with some reviews or testimonials? And then they gave me an action step, STORY, story. Those are the 5 pieces that I found in these books that are truly powerful. So being able to use that story formula in all of your content and all of your presentations, all of everything you're trying to create, when you're creating your messages, this one simple formula can be used across all the things you do, even in creating the book.
Yeah. So that is amazing. I can't wait. We'll put out a date when that masterclass happens. We will invite everyone, but the actual recording will only go into the membership for the current members. And you know, if you want to get in touch with Dwight, how do people do that?
Yeah, my name's there on the screen there. You see it, D. Orlando Fortune. All over these internet streets. That's where you can find me right there. Now, there's 2 things that people can do here. I have, if someone is thinking about writing their book, and they want to see what that kind of looks like, signaturebookformula.com/planner. If you just want to get this checklist of all these steps that I use in my process to help people write their books, that planner is going off the shelves. It's over 1,200 people in the last couple months, like last 60 days, 1,200 people have downloaded that planner, getting all types of great feedback from that. And if anybody wants to join that challenge instead, like, you know what, I don't need the planner. I just want to go forward. I want to work. I want to get this done today. Matter of fact, we're talking about Monday. The challenge starts. Just go to that signature book formula. Same thing, signaturebbookformula.com/challenge.
Yeah,
Slash
I put
challenge.
it
And yeah,
down.
please
It's
let me
going
know.
across there.
Oh, there it is. Excellent.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
there it is. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so it starts on Monday. So sign up. It's going to be jam-packed with value. So, I mean, you're just giving it away for like $27, which is like a complete steal.
Yeah, right now. Yes, right now.
So that I'm sure you're going to put that price up. So people need to get in now. It's been really lovely to speak to you today. And I look forward to seeing you again on the masterclass.
Oh, yeah.
So there we have it. So excited to see Dwight again on the masterclass, which will set a date and we'll let you know about it. So if you are thinking of creating a business, online business as a therapist, then I'd like to encourage you to go to mavenbusinesshaven.com/tools. And there you'll find all the tools that I use, which I'm going to share with you now, if I can manage the technology. But I'm also going to share with you my shop, because I think that is something, which since we're talking about books, I've created a shop. So if you go to mavenbusinesshaven.com/shop, and you will see the shops here and all the books which are inside there. So if you're thinking maybe you might want to do a memories to memoir, click here. And you can think about creating your memoir as well. It's a journaling book. So I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.